All right, welcome everyone. Chris Petri here. Thanks again for coming by, and we're having a great time doing some still life studies. In this video, we're going to actually cover two items. We're going to create the first item subject. We're going to do an apple, a simple apple. We're going to work from a photograph, so you'll see this on camera. So we'll have our apple photograph, which I photographed in my studio. So I have a studio. I have a table set up with a tablecloth, a white tablecloth. And what I do is I take a photograph with my iPhone, and then once I take the photograph, I send it to my email, and then I print it on my printer, and then I print it out, and then I just print it out as a 4x6 inch print on my printer, and then I just trim around the paper, and then I have myself a nice photograph reference photo. And then we're going to use some watercolor paper here and our Prang Oval 16 set, which is our beginner set. And we'll get this apple done and completed nicely, and then we'll work right into our next painting, which is going to be our lemon. We're going to do a beautiful lemon, shadowing, highlights. We're going to work again, same idea, photograph. I have a photograph in my studio of a lemon across from me. Took a picture of that again, printed it on my printer once I sent it to my email. So basically I take the picture on my iPhone, send that to my email, go onto my laptop on my desk, print it out to my printer, print it on some printer paper, 4x6 format, trim off the excess paper around that, and then we have a photograph we can work from. And then we have our lemon here, which is our finished painting. And I'm hoping you're going to really enjoy this video. We're going to have a lot of fun, and so we'll get started. All right, so we're getting started here. We just saw the finished paintings that we created, some beautiful compositions, still life compositions. The first thing I wanted to do was just kind of take a bit of a few seconds or so just to kind of talk about what we're going to do here. So we have our photographs that we're going to work from, and I printed these. I took the pictures in my studio. I have a studio table set up with lighting, a spotlight on top, shining down on top of my table, and I have like tablecloths that I have, different tablecloths that I use, sometimes white paper over the top of the table so that there's just a white tabletop. So there's all kinds of different setups you can use when you're working from home in your own studio or in your own place. You know, you can always set up small areas where you can put some tablecloth down, or even like some just white paper, and you put an object on there, whether it's an apple, an orange, a lemon, paintbrush, whatever it is. So the thing is, once you have that, the next thing is going to be to interpret what you're seeing and kind of translate it into watercolor for yourself. So I think with watercolors and art, it's pretty much, you know, you're the artist. You're going to kind of create your own paintings and your own style, and you're going to kind of enhance your paintings according to what you like. So you're not necessarily always going to be like really trying to paint exactly what you see. You're going to try to work with what you're seeing, but you want to kind of give it your own flair, your own flavor to what you're painting and you're drawing. So that's what I'm going to just kind of explain here. So when we see, like, just let's say for instance this apple here that we're going to paint now, draw and paint, you know, we're going to just kind of take notice that we do have a light source coming from this side here, from the left going to the right. So let's just take some notes on this and think to ourselves, well, if this is our paper like this, we're going to have the light source here, so we make a little insignia like a spotlight. And this is a great thing to do whenever you're drawing and starting out your drawing or your painting. You want to kind of just take note of where the light's coming from, sunlight or spotlights or indoor light, things like that. Kind of try to see where you might see the light coming from. Sometimes you'll just have light coming from every direction, and you might not have a specific direction of your light. But in this photograph that I took, it is my table across in my studio across the way there. I'm looking at this is my camera here, and then as I look over to the right over there like this, that's where I have my setup over there, where I have my spotlight and I have my table, my tablecloths, and then all my still life setup that I have. I have all my lemons over there, and fruits and wine bottles and all the kinds of cool stuff like that, duck decoys and bird decoys and all kinds of fun stuff. So again, getting back to this here, so when we have this apple, let's just say we have our apple here, and let's make it maybe a little bit larger like this here in the in the picture frame here. So we have our picture frame. Light's coming from here. So we'll just notice that it's lighter over here, and then the apple starts to get a little darker over here, and then a little bit darker here, and then over here there's a little bit of reflected light bouncing off the white tablecloth back up into the bottom of the apple. So we're going to see a little more reflected light over here. So you'll see that there's a transition as you go across this apple that starts off very light. There's a highlight there, maybe. We have a bright highlight of light. Then here you have like a middle tonal value. Then you have here a darker dark. And then here on the bottom you have a little bit of a lighter light there, reflected light bouncing off the tablecloth. So, and this is the back of the table, like that. And then you could put some tablecloth lines in there if you want to, like that. But that's kind of like the general idea of what we're going to do here when we're creating this apple and we're drawing and painting this. So as beginners here, more or less, you know, if I call this, you know, my extreme beginners videos, because I'm using a beginner's palette, beginner's brushes, which are synthetic brushes, and so forth. Like the synthetic brushes we have, one comes with the set, and this one here I bought on my own. It's a Simply Simmons number 9 round brush, synthetic brush. So, and then some, these are Princeton Art and Brush Company brush sets. You can get like 5 or 6 brushes in a set for like $12, $15. All of my art supplies are down below too, just incidentally. Down below in the description box below, there's links to Amazon where you can pick up all these art products. Most of them anyway. Most of my art supplies, I've tried them, I've used them, they work really great, and that's why I put them down below, so that you do have a good starting point of buying some art supplies when you're going to start out in painting. And if it's your first time here, really welcome, and thanks so much for coming by. You're going to have a great time painting with us, and we're going to have a lot of fun together, and you're going to have a lot of fun doing watercolor. And I'm always hoping too that you will subscribe down below on the right hand side, so that you don't miss anything, and you'll be working here with us week after week as we go, and month after month. So again, we're getting back to the apple. We're just taking notice that we are going to see some darker and lighter tonal values in this apple, and then we're going to see a shadow too, a cast shadow underneath the apple. But I'm not going to use what I'm seeing there exactly. I'm going to maybe enhance this a little bit, and we'll kind of talk about that too as we get into the painting and the drawing. All right, so that's kind of just the basic essence of it. And then we'll put this over here, the notes, and we'll get started. And I'm glad you could kind of see in the first part of the video, the first few minutes, you saw everything finished, the finished look of everything. So that's a really good thing. So I'll just use I'm going to use this is a 0.9 millimeter Pentel mechanical pencil. So it's got the lead. You just squeeze the top of the pencil, mechanical pencil, and you get a new point coming out all the time. So the point is always new, and you don't have to worry about sharpening it in a sharpener or anything like that. If you like to use mechanical pencils, they really are handy and really good, fun to work with. And let's get started here. So we have our apple, and then we're just going to draw this, and we're going to notice that the apple is not exactly round. This is another thing I like to mention too when you're looking at your subject matter, just for keeping in mind. We wouldn't want to just take our idea of an apple and think to ourselves in our mind, oh yeah, the apple's, it's round. That's it, it's round. So then I'm just going to draw a round thing like this, apple, like that. Yes, an apple is round, but it does have small, different changes of shapes as it's. So if you really look closely, an apple does have almost angles. Actually, apples actually have angles to it, but they're very, very subtle. So you have to just keep in mind that when you are going to draw your apple, let's draw them accurately as we can. So as you're looking at this photograph and we're working together on this, try to see the maybe subtle angles on the outer edges of your apple, because it's easy just to say, oh, it's round, and draw a circle and think that's the apple. But actually it does have some minor angles to the circumference of the apple. So let's start over here. I'm going to look at this and try to replicate pretty much what I'm seeing here. I want to really have a large apple in this, in my picture frame here, my painting. So I wouldn't want to draw a small apple like this, only this big. I want to fill it up just like this, like we have here. So I'll start out and I'll say, well, the apple's maybe 3/4 up from the bottom of the paper, so about there. So the top of the apple should be about there, and it's only a little bit up from the bottom, so I make a little line here just to give myself those two kind of hash marks, just to let myself know that's kind of where I'm looking to start. So now I'm going to start up here. I might just make some small I sometimes stop with my pencil as I'm thinking and looking back and forth at my apple as I'm drawing, so I might sometimes stop and just make a little circle. Okay, and then now I look up here and I see that there's a core of the apple here at the top. So I make a lighter pencil line there. I don't want to make that too dark. And then we have the stem. And the stem comes out like this. Like that. Then I look up here and I see that there is this line going across here. That's up to you where you put this line. You can put that line level across your paper if you want, or you can use this photograph that we're using here. I tend to think I want to sort of section this apple off a little bit like this, so I'm going to kind of do this. I'll make that line a little lower there, just like that. And that's about it. That's the pencil drawing. We could also make a note for ourselves that there is a little bit of really bright light bouncing off the top of the highlight on this apple. So we might just put that here as a little bit of a pencil line, light pencil line there, just like that. And then also one other thing I would like to do is just get my shadow in here. So I'm just going to go around with my shadow. The only thing is I'm going to make it more minimal. I'm not going to go as much as we're seeing here, and I'm not going to use a spherical shape or a circular shape. I'm going to make the shadow just sort of like a bit of a odd shape here. I just want to make it like basically a shadow shape, but not make it so round like this. This sort of looks like, even though that's the reality of how this looks in this photograph, I'd rather enhance my shadow and make it a little bit less predictable looking or circular. And I just want to make a note that there is a shadow there, but not make a big deal of it and try to capture exactly the way it looks there. If you want to do that, though, you can do that too. You're the artist. You make decisions on what you think looks best in your paintings, and when you're doing these exercises, you can try different things. You can try maybe seeing how this looks and doing it this way, and then try the way I've done it here, and then maybe you might find you could do another alternative third way to do it, as far as experimenting and things. Experimenting's good. All right, so let's take a quick break. We're going to do the apple painting next, so we'll spritz our palette. So I'll take some fresh clean water in my spritzer bottle, and I'll just spritz the paints quickly just to get a little bit of water on there, activate them, and then in 5-10 minutes when I come back, it'll be all ready to go. The paints will be moist a little bit, and we'll start mixing some colors, and I hope you'll have the same setup for yourselves, some watercolor paper, a photograph, or your phone. You can use your phone to have this photograph up on your phone or your iPad or your computer, your home computer, and you have your palette, and that's really all you need. And then you just have your brushes, of course, we talked about before, just using a couple simple beginner's style brushes. The Simply Simmons #9 round brush, and then this is the brush that comes with the Prang Oval 16 watercolor set. So this is the Prang Oval 16 watercolor set. Again, down below in the description box below. You might have to click the word more to see all the links below, and you'll see that I do have this in the links. I have this Prang set. It's a link to Amazon. And all right, let's get started in just a second. We'll just take a quick break. All right, so we're going to start creating our painting. I just have some fresh, clean water in a water container. So I have my water container over here on the right-hand side of my table. I'll use the Simply Simmons #9 to start this painting. I think this should be fine for most of the painting. We might use the Prang brush to maybe do some details like the stem, we'll see. But let's get our paint. So I'm going to take some of this, it's like the medium red here. So we have, it's the lighter red of the two. This is more of like a alizarin crimson here. This is like a cadmium red. And then here we have like a cadmium orange. So I guess I'm just kind of describing these colors to my normal paints that I use on an ongoing basis. My paint tubes that I use, like my Winsor & Newton Holbein paints. But in any case, we can kind of see it's a mixture of the oranges and reds. You could kind of use a little bit of each. Then you can get some yellow there too. Put some yellow out here too. Like this. Because we do see yellow here. So if you can imagine, I'm just going to get the colors out here on the palette first as I'm looking at this. And then I did notice maybe there's some purple and blue. So let's say purple and blue. A little bit here where the darkest dark is, or along this area here of the apple. And the shadow too might have a little bit of the purple. So I'll just mix up some of that purple over here on the side of the palette on this side over here next to the reds. So I hope you can see that we're kind of getting all of our colors that we're going to use here prepped right into the palette, mixed it right out onto the sections of our palette that we have, and I think we're pretty good. We have everything started. Now you can always go in and get more paint and just kind of transfer it over to this way here. So you'll say, oh, I need more orange, and you bring your orange back there, or some red, you bring your red back there to the left side over here. So you can kind of always replenish your palette as you're working. But once you get your colors all out, because you're kind of observing what you need here in your painting and your subject that you're working from, you get those colors all out on your palette first. Then as you're working and you start to notice you might be running out of one of the colors that you're using, you just quickly put that back in as you're working, add some more to it, so that you kind of keep that going, so to speak, as you're working. And that's really all there is to it. Just kind of a logical way to approach painting, you know, kind of getting your colors all worked out first, because you're kind of focused on, all right, what colors are here, you get them into your palette, and then you're all set. And then as you need to backfill these colors as you're working, it's easy to do. You kind of just see, oh yeah, this is some yellow over here, we need to add some more of that, or red or orange. You know, you kind of are working your paints back onto your palette to give yourself more paint to work with, but you've already got the colors kind of there, so that you know where to go and just how to put that back into your palette to kind of fill that back up again. Versus if you're just working and you're not really starting out with the idea of trying to get all your colors you need first, then you might be kind of like in the middle of your painting wondering what you need to do, and the next thing it's your painting's drying, and you might have, you know, more of a problem trying to keep your washes looking good on your painting. So that's the key with watercolor. It's a fast medium. You kind of have to try to plan ahead with your colors and your washes, and that really helps a lot. So we'll kind of see how that works now, because now I'm just going to go in and we'll just start working our reds, and we're going to leave a bit of white paper here like this. So let's just get some of the, we get some of the reds here, and you can go straight into your colors, right into the palette. But as you can see now, we have a good bit of wash here. Then we're going to go in and get our golden colors up here. We can kind of see the golden colors up here. Let's get those in, and let's just start mixing those in. We'll leave that white highlight on the apple, and then I think we can take that gold and just keep, I might add a little more golden color there, which is kind of like a yellow ochre, and I just work that around. And the stem is very dark, so we don't have to worry. We can paint right over the stem. That's very dark there. Then we'll have some more red here at the bottom. So you'll see I'm kind of working quickly. I want to get the paint onto this apple. And then I want to work quickly too and get a little bit of the purple for my shadow here, with a little bit of yellow too. I want to mix some yellow and purple. And as you can see, I'm just trying to add an interesting bit of shadow there. And then a little bit of blue and purple with the red. And I'm going to hurry up, and I want to get some of that dark we talked about. That's sort of in the along this area of the apple here. So as long as you're moving quickly, you can get that bit of wash there. Then when you're done with that, you grab your tissue, dry off a little bit of the paint off or water off your brush, and then gently smooth out that darker bit of wash that you just put on the center area here. And then you can also rinse off your brush, dry off a little bit of water. Again, now that you're blending some of the colors, you want to dry off your brush so it's not too wet with water. And then you can kind of soften up this highlight. So you can go around that highlight a little bit and just soften up the so that it's not too drastic like that. You can even lift up a little bit of reflected light here with a tissue underneath. With a tissue, and then we can go and get a little more purple, a little bit more the yellow, the gold. Make it a little bit darker there. Then as we come up here, we might make a little bit of a dark there where that the core of the apple is. And then there's a shadow that goes across like this, like that. And then I'll dry off my brush again, rinse off my brush, dry off the brush. And then I notice that my paper is, I'm used to working with certain papers. I am working with a new paper right now, so this paper is a little different than I'm used to, so I have to now be aware of that. Okay, so we kind of have the idea of it. The darker area is here on the apple, lighter up here with the gold and the oranges up here, and then down here we have a little bit of that light down here, reflected light coming up from the table, kind of like illuminating the bottom of this gorgeous looking apple. And what we'll do is we'll maybe take a little bit of our colors that we already have, and we'll just make a little bit of a couple of marks over here on the paper, just to make a note of the table. So the table is here, and then there's the edge of the table here, and we can add a little bit of gold, and then we just add a little bit of water to just soften out that bit of wash there that we put on there. And you can even put a light wash on this part of the painting back here. Just like this. And you can make it some warm and cool colors. The golds, the oranges, some of the reds. You can paint right over the stem. We'll make the stem in a few minutes after this dries, the background color here on the wall. So this is the wall that we're painting in right now, just a light wash. And once we have that completed right there, now we're fine. Now we can actually let this dry for about 5-10 minutes, or if you have a blow dryer, you can kind of dry it off a little quicker. And when we do that, then we'll be able to paint in our stem, our dark, very, very dark tonal value. That stem is almost a dark brown or a black. So we'll kind of do that next, and we have that soft shadow of the stem over here already in there. And then we do have that highlight there that we put onto the apple there. So I think so far that's a fun way of painting this apple, kind of just keying in on all those main ingredients that we talked about when we're painting this apple, getting the correct darks and lights of the apple. Make sure we get the shadow in there at the bottom, and then we also put a little bit of that line across the back as we're looking at the table, and then the wall behind it going upwards, and a little bit of wash on there. And we could also add a little bit of a couple splashes here and there just to loosen up the painting, make it look like a fun, spontaneous type work of art. And let's come back once this dries, and we'll put in our dark stem, and we'll be all completed. All right, so we let this dry. I used the blow dryer to dry off the paper and our apple and our backsplash wash of the back of the wall, and we have our table. We left that white paper. Now we'll just get some darker darks here. We'll do blue. That's purple, actually. Purple, blue, and we'll use some brown. Purple, blue, and brown, and a little bit of red too. And that's going to be our stem. What I like to do is I have a tissue, I get the paint, I roll the paint on the brush, and I roll the brush around a little bit like this so that I get a good point. You can kind of see the point on the brush. That's pretty good. And then I dry off a little bit of the paint on the tissue just so that I don't have too much paint on the brush hairs. And then we can just create our stem. Just like that. Simple enough. And that's looking good. All right, so we have our first composition done. Let's take a look here. Let's take this, or put this over there. Let's just see how this looks once we lift up the tape. And I always mention, please put tape on all of your compositions and all your paintings that you work on at all times. It looks so much better when you are completed with your paintings, your compositions. If you peel off the tape, you'll have an automatic, really nice, crisp line, a border around your painting. It looks more professional, and it'll look better just overall, your artwork. So there we have it. It's almost like one of those old Polaroid. Remember those? The old Polaroid pictures from the Polaroid cameras? They always had that white border around the photograph. It made everything look just fantastic. So that's kind of the same idea. Having a border, a nice, crisp, clean line around your painting it looks much better that way. Okay, so now we have that all set. Let's start another painting. So what I'll do is maybe put this here and just... What we'll do is when we come back next, we're going to reset up our table with another piece of paper, and we'll work on our next item, which is going to be our lemon. We're going to do a lemon next, which is very similar to the apple. We'll use the same process, and you can kind of see the same photograph similar. All right, so we'll do our lemon next. We'll be right back. Okay, let's get our lemon set up here. So we're going to take our apple. We're going to save all of our photographs that we have, or you're going to save your pictures. If you have pictures on your phone or your electronic devices, save those in a file somewhere on your electronic devices, your computers, so you can reference them in the future. And we're going to take this, we'll put this up here. I'm going to get some more paper. We happen to be using the, this first painting, we used the indigo art papers. And that was the handmade watercolor. It's called Wiro pad. And so that's, that's what we use for our first painting here, this apple. So next maybe we'll go with some, I don't know, let's try, what else do we have here? I'm trying to see what other paper I might have that we can use here in my art studio here. Maybe we'll use some Fabriano. So we'll use some Fabriano paper here next. We'll see how we can work that into the mix here. So I can move that apple up a little bit like this. Okay, so now we have everything kind of set up good there. And then I take my artist tape. Then I'll move the apple out of the way for just a second, and we'll put the tape across here. Okay, we'll put the tape over there. And then I'll take some Scotch tape maybe. So I'll use some Scotch tape here, and we'll just do a couple. We'll tack this down just a little bit. Maybe I'll do it over here like so, like that. One there. Another small piece maybe over here. And then one up on top. Okay, now we're all set. All right, so let's do the same process we did before. We're going to take our mechanical pencil, and then we're going to notice that our lemon is toward the bottom of our paper, which is good, and it is quite a bit. The top of the apple is about a little bit above the halfway point. So if we go up here and say this is the halfway point of our paper, from top to bottom of our picture frame here, halfway, it's a little bit above halfway the top of the lemon. So I just make a point there and say, okay, that's about a little bit above halfway. So I make a little hash mark there for my top of the lemon there. And then the bottom of the lemon is about maybe just a little bit above the bottom of our, so maybe I can even take the pencil line and go across here. And maybe I'll do this. I'll just make a pencil line around here like so. And then we say this is about a little bit above, like this, like that. All right, now we're just going to look at the lemon, and we're going to notice the same thing. We really don't want to just make a circle quickly and go, okay, lemon, round. Whoosh. We kind of want to be careful and say, all right, let's really look at that lemon. And I'm sure you can see this on camera, that if you can kind of see that it does have small angles on that lemon. So let's kind of capture that. And we kind of notice too, the lemon is about here. We can almost make the lemon the same size as the photograph as we have here, because this is 4x6 and this is about 4x6 to the paper. So it's almost like we're just going to be drawing this lemon the same exact size right here as we have down here. So I'm looking here and I'm saying, okay, the edge of the lemon's there. Make a hash mark there. The edge of the lemon's about here, like that. So we kind of have some hash marks there. Then you can always take a kneaded eraser, and then once you have your hash marks, you can kind of erase them a little bit just so that you can see them. And then you can start. So we'll start here. And I'm going to go upwards like this. Then I notice that it goes this way. Okay, that's the lemon. I will again make the, maybe I'll just make the, I'll take a ruler maybe this time. Maybe I'll take a ruler and just say, okay, I'm going to make the back of the table over here about 3/4 of the way up above the bottom of the lemon. And again, we can take some artist liberties here. You're the artist, you're going to sometimes take liberties, do things the way you want to do it. You can change things around. It doesn't have to be exactly the way I'm doing it. And there, see, I'll do a little bit of just a really simple straight across line right across the paper like that. And then, then there's the other one we did before. On the apple, we did a little bit of an angle like we were seeing in the photograph. Well, now we're going to change things around a little bit and just do it this way. And then we're going to do the shadow. We'll just draw in the shadow a little bit. And again, I'm not going to really, I'll just do a diminished shadow. I'm not going to make the shadow exactly the way I'm seeing it. I'll use my kneaded eraser. This. Okay, that is our lemon, and then I'm going to say I'm going to make a light line across the center of the lemon, just to note that that's going to be the darkest area of the lemon, and then underneath the lemon here you're going to see that illumination from the bright light striking the table, the white tablecloth, and bouncing up and touching, lighting up and illuminating the bottom of the lemon here. And of course we have a really strong light coming from this side up here, so we do have a light source up here, which we can kind of just make a note of it up here with a light insignia on the tape. I don't want to put that on my paper right now. I'd rather just leave it on the tape that we made around the paper. So that's the light coming from here. So there is a bit of a highlight here on the lemon there. And I think that should be good. So we kind of just, let's note the colors now. Now we're going to start shifting into, we have the drawing complete. We have our contour drawing completed. We have everything in place for our drawing. That's all good. Then what we're going to do is next, we're going to clean up our palette just a little bit. So I'll take a paper towel, piece of paper towel. I just cut them into small squares like this. I dip that into my water bucket. And then I just take my palette and I just wipe up my palette a little bit, take off some of that paint. This way we don't mix up too much of these colors into the next colors we're going to need for this next painting. So I go there first with a little bit of a damp piece, and then I use a dry paper towel now just to get the rest of the damp water. We wouldn't want too many puddles of water in our palette when we're starting our next painting here. So I'll dry off the palette and get the rest of the water. And that looks good. Okay, so we're going to use the same brush again. We'll use the Simply Simmons number 9. I will change my water in my water pail, my water bucket. You'll see it's pretty murky looking. So now that we're doing this lemon, we could get away with this, but let's just be on the safe side. Whenever you can, try to change out your water in your water bucket as much as possible. I think it's a better way to do it that way than leave too much of the muddy water in the water bucket and then it affects your colors and your washes on your painting. So I'll put some water, bottled water, into my water bucket over here on the right hand side. Then we have our colors, and now we're going to do the same thing we did on the first composition, which was our apple. We're just going to say to ourselves, what's the first thing we do once we're done with our pencil drawing and we've taken a break and we're coming back? We're going to figure out the colors. What colors are we going to use on this? And we can right away see, wow, yeah, lemon. This is going to be a little easier. It's more or less just the yellow, but we will have a little bit of an additional. So I'll just get plenty of lemon. Sometimes with these prying semi-moist paints, sometimes we have to just kind of use a little bit of the water in there and kind of lather this up a little bit, so to speak, and get this yellow color going here. And then we also notice there is a bit of orange. I'll put the orange here. So I'll add a little bit of that orange. I do see a little bit of orange in the center section of the lemon. And then some down here too in the bottom. And there's some in the shadows too. So that orange, I'm just going to put some there like that. And then also we will notice there's a touch of green. So I will use a little bit of this lighter green up here. And what I'll do when I make this lighter green like this, I'm going to use a touch of brown just to grade down a little bit to kind of make it like an olive green. So I mix that until I get that kind of olive green look, and that looks good. So we'll use that for our shadow along the center of the lemon here. Okay, so now we're ready to sort of work on that, the brightest part of the lemon up here. So we'll just go in and we'll start putting our wash in. I leave my highlight there. And I could do the whole lemon with that first wash of the lemon yellow. And even put some of that lemon yellow right into the shadow, like so. Then I come in and I get a little bit of the orange. As we work in some of the orange over here. Now I have to work quickly. I don't want to take too much time because this is drying already. But I want to get some of that orange through the center here, like so. And then I want to take that green and get some of that green shadowy kind of color, maybe a little bit of touch of purple in there. Purple is a nice shadow color. So I will add a little purple to it. Like that. Then I rinse off my brush quickly, dry off some of the water off the brush. Again, working quickly, and I want to smooth out that darker shadow that we have in the center of the lemon, like this. And then a little more orange with maybe a touch of the green. We can add a little bit of the, there's sometimes a little bit of variation in there. And then again, we'll go with some of that purple and green, orange for our shadow. And I would infuse that shadow right into the bottom of the lemon. And the shadow's a little darker underneath. The cast shadow is darker closest to the object. Rinse off my brush, dry off a little bit of the water. Damp, just a damp brush right now, and then we just smooth out some of those washes that we're putting in there. And then we can even add a little bit of damp brush, rinse off the brush, dry off a little bit of the water. And we just maybe diminish that white paper right there where the highlight is, just a touch. And we have some orange. So I just put a little bit of orange in the wash here. But that's about it. I don't want to start doing any more work in the once you kind of have that first wash on there and then you blend in your shadowing right away on this wash. That's it. We really have to just let it dry now. we can't keep going back in and adding more colors. So once you have your first wash on there and you infuse really quickly, when you get that whole wash on there of the yellow, lemon yellow, and then you get your little bit of that green mixture with a little bit of the purple, when you get that in around the center of the lemon here, where you kind of have that darker shadow like this right here, once you do that, then now we have to walk away and just let it dry 100%. You can use a blow dryer, and then that's it. And then you can come back in and do a little touch up, but I would say a lot of times it's just best to leave something like this the way it is, because I think it looks fine the way it turned out right now. We have a good sense of the bright light on the top of the lemon, the reflected light coming from the table bouncing onto the underside of the lemon, just like we see here. And then we have the shadow in there, which looks good. And all we have to do now is do a little bit of the wall behind the table. So let's do that. I'll use the same colors. I don't want to change any colors now. So I'll just do a little bit of the colors that we used. Purple, we used purple. So I'll just sort of dab in some colors like that. Rinse off the brush and leave the water in the brush. I don't want to dry off the brush at this point. I want to leave the water in the brush and just sort of smooth out some of this little bit of mixture of colors that we're putting in here. And a couple splashes. A little bit of purple too down here. A couple splashes on the table. A couple splashes up there. If you don't think all the splashes are great, sometimes you can lift up a few. And then you just scrub around, get some of that background color on the back of the wall, a little bit of orange, kind of that warm color. I just kind of carefully make a little bit of wash on that back. Very subtle though. And you can do some artistic brush strokes like this if you want to the backdrop. And then I blend that right down, right up to the edge of the apple, the lemon. There we go. And again, maybe a little bit of splashing just to give it a little texture for the backdrop. And that is that. Okay, so we are moving right along here. Again, we're working on our still life compositions. They're really important as watercolor artists. If you can work on simple compositions like this, it really builds your skills as a watercolor artist. We can always readily find some apples, lemons, any kind of fruits, vegetables in our kitchens to work from. You can just basically set it down on a table and draw those types of subject matter. Anything. We'll work on other things too. We'll actually, in this video, we're going to actually work on a few more. We're going to use a few more objects. We're going to use a wine bottle toward the end of this video, and also we'll create a beautiful watercolor brush. We're going to paint a watercolor brush too as well after this. So get ready. We're going to do some more, but please take a break. And I'm hoping if you do like this video, you're going to give it a thumbs up. I also hope you'll subscribe on the right hand side below. This way you'll be in touch with us at all times, and you'll see when our new videos are coming out. And that's all really it is. When you subscribe, it just lets YouTube know you want to see when my new videos are coming out, and you'll see that in your YouTube channel when you open up YouTube the next time. So you'll always be kind of like being able to find us here and what we're doing here. We're working week by week, month by month, and even year after year. We're working here creating beautiful watercolor videos, all kinds of watercolor videos, everything from still life like this, beautiful ocean scenes, beach scenes. We do city scenes, mountains. We do figure painting, flowers. We do everything here watercolor on this channel. So I'm glad you're here. Glad you're joining along. You're going to have a lot of fun. You just take your time with watercolor. It takes quite a bit of time to learn watercolor. I won't make any claims that watercolor is easy or you could do it like 1, 2, 3 and that's it. But as long as you're working here along with me week after week and month after month and year after year, you're going to pick up little subtle things each time you pick up your brushes and your pencil and your paints. And that is going to just equal, after time, more mastery over the watercolor medium. And I'm sure you'll be very happy with your results, as many are. I'm always having people email me, people email me all the time. They send me their pictures of their paintings, which look absolutely phenomenal. So many people on this channel are getting a lot of good results. So I'm absolutely certain you'll have excellent results too as well as you work along with us all here. And you can always leave comments in the comments section if you have questions about anything. Myself or a lot of people that have been working on my channel for a long time will be able to, answer some of your questions if I don't get to them right away. Someone else will probably be able to help out and give you some insights as to maybe a question you might have. So let's keep working on this here as we go, but we'll set up another new piece of watercolor paper and a new photograph. And these are, again, just pictures. I took the pictures in my studio on my studio table where I have my setup of lemons and apples and wine bottles and all kinds of good stuff. So I take photographs of that with my phone and then I print it out on my printer, and then now we just have that right here with us. Okay, all right, so let's get started in a second, and we'll get started with our paintbrush next. All right, so we have been so busy on this video, we're going to actually end this video here, and we're going to create another video, a part 2 for this still life study that we've been doing here. So the first video here, we're going to basically just review quickly. We had our apple first, our still life apple, and then our lemon. So these were the two we created on this video, and then what we'll do is the next video we will create 2 more still life items. Let's say subject matter. We're going to do a paintbrush, a Raphael watercolor paintbrush, and we're also going to do a wine bottle. So we'll do these 2 in this next video upcoming, part 2. This is a good stopping point because we did quite a bit of work, and it's already been maybe an hour, close to an hour probably, for the first part of our still life video here. So let's have another video. We'll do part 2 coming up in just a few minutes or so. I think I'm going to start working on it right away, so it should be out probably within the same day today, or maybe the next day, but you'll see it. I'll call it part 2, so we'll have a part 1, part 2 still life study, and hoping that you'll join me for the second part. Part 2, we're going to do again paintbrush, artist brush, watercolor brush, and a wine bottle. We'll have a lot of fun. We'll do it the same way, follow the same process, getting the sketch done correctly, and then we'll work into getting the paint colors that we're going to choose, and then of course start the painting and work through the process of getting all of our paint on the paper, shadowing colors correctly, and finishing up. Okay, so we'll see you on the next video very shortly.